Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to The Theorist with your host, JC Botero67. Today, we're going to take a look at Chapter 9 of Revelations by Anime Kujo. And, of course, I will be doing the usual reviewing and predicting. So I want to go ahead and kick it off with the smut scene. We knew this was going to happen, or at least the pre-beginnings of it, because they're getting into it, and then all of a sudden Ciel knows what's coming next. So he tries to stop Sebastian from going any further, but Sebastian just doesn't let up. And so Ciel has no other choice but to bite Sebastian in the ear and get him to back off. So Sebastian's just all like, you were as hard as I was, so what's the big deal? Why can't we keep going with this? And Ciel says, I don't feel ready. I don't want my first time to be, spontaneous, I guess, or lusty. Basically, he doesn't want to just do it with anybody, with just anybody. And so that really gets to Sebastian, and he's like, oh, okay, so I'm not special to you. I don't mean anything to you. I'm just somebody. Or anybody. And, Ciel feels really bad for having said that. But we still get to enjoy a little bit of Ciel and Sebastian because Ciel decides to make it up to him. So it was nice to see a little bit of that happen between Ciel and Sebastian, but overall I do commend Ciel for not going through and doing what Sebastian wanted. I root for Ciel. I think that their first time should be special. I mean, right now, Sebastian, he's starting to fall for Ciel, but he's not quite there yet. He's still intent on his evil plan, and I don't want Ciel to give himself up to somebody like that. I want Ciel to give himself up to someone who really does love him genuinely. And, of course, we'll see that down the road. Moving along, I was glad to see that Anime Kujo mentioned the 21st birthday part of the deal, because I was actually going to touch base on it in this chapter review. So, I have two theories that I came up with. It would be either one, Ciel has to decide whether to go to the church at 11:30 or run back home, because like I mentioned in the previous review, I think that Hannah might set the Phantom Hive estate on fire. And Madame Red, Aunt Ange, however you would like to call her, would be in the house more than likely. So, Ciel might know that, and he sees an area that's on fire, smoke rising to the air, and, he realizes, oh crap, that's where my estate is situated. So I have to go check that out and not go to the church, as was part of the deal. And so, as I had mentioned, probably the first review, I honestly thought that to add drama to the story, Ciel would not make it to that deadline. Or if he were to make it, he wouldn't make it on time, because something was going to happen to him, or, in this case, with my new theory, his only family left, basically. Or it could also be that, as I've mentioned in a previous review, he gets stuck in the house, in the house fire. So, of course, he wouldn't be able to go to the church before that deadline. So that's what I came up with before reading Chapter 9, actually. But I was glad I got that reminder again of the deal with the whole going to the church at 11:30, because I wanted to talk about that. Then the scene changes to Spears, Ronald, and Grell. Of course, Spears gets on Ronald because he didn't try to stop Sebastian and Ciel, or, who knows what Spears was expecting. But Grell defends Ronald and says, oh, Father Spears, you had said clearly that you wanted Ronald to only follow them and report to you. So, Ronald goes off, and then Grell and William are left in the room. So then they're talking, and then Grell is leaving, or in the process of leaving, when Spears settles on the idea of Well, I'll just go ahead and read this quote, and you'll see what I mean. I think it is about time I got to know this chap who seems to have so much influence in our young Ciel's life. He smiled lightly at the accuracy of his thoughts. It's time I met this Mr. Michaelis and find out who he is. So, it's going to be interesting. There's obviously going to be tensions between William and Sebastian. Of course, that lines up with what we see in the original anime and manga. So, the question here is, what's in store? And what is Spears going to do or say? So I'm really looking forward to what will happen between those two characters. Then after that, the scene changes again. We are now in Ciel's bedroom, where Ciel and Sebastian are kind of cuddled on Ciel's bed. And Ciel is sleeping, and Sebastian's just kind of looking over him. And, at one point, he's thinking, he's so defenseless right now, I could totally, hurt him and kill him, and, it'd be crushing for him to see that Sebastian is the one doing it, after trying to plead with his eyes for help, only to find out that the person he wants to help him is the one who's hurting and killing him. But of course, Sebastian draws that away from his thoughts, and he's like, no, I have to, get him so in love with me, and that way the devastation is even grander than what it currently is. But there's a quote here that I'd like to read for you guys. The muscle in his chest that beat in a perfect tempo craved nothing more than to touch Ciel's soft skin and hear him pant with pleasure. That small warmth made Sebastian want to protect the young man from all the evils out in the world and keep him safe by his side, until death finally came to claim them. If it came to claim them. So my response to that is, yep, death will try to claim you. I don't necessarily know that death will succeed in that task, but it's a possibility. Like I've mentioned quite a few times already, it could end happily, it could end sadly, or there could be a median point. And, I want to know your guys' thoughts, honestly. Go ahead and comment on here or shoot me a private message and let's discuss this. I really want to get involved with you guys, and I want to know what your thoughts are and what your theories are as well. So please, by all means, share them with me, and, other people will come across them and we can, discuss this thing and kind of come up with how we could picture this story ending, or, what can happen in between what we just read and the ending. So throw your theories at me, because I'm excited to kind of compare and contrast. And let's see, I do want to end this with the author's note provided at the end of the chapter, and here's what it says. So how many people think Ciel should just break up with Sebastian now before he gets hurt? I mean, he's so trusting and defenseless, and Sebastian is the friggin' general of Hell's army. Talk about having baggage, jeez. Anyways, review my darlings, or I may not be able to go on. I'm not Celine Dion, lol. So my reaction to that is, my mind says yes for Ciel to break up with Sebastian. And even my heart says that, but, that is definitely miles from what will actually take place in the story. But actually, after having read that quote from Sebastian just a little bit ago about him wanting to protect Ciel from evil and keep him safe by his side, I'm starting to forgive Sebastian little by little. And, we'll see what happens, and hopefully Sebastian will redeem himself more and more and make me want to cheer for him and Ciel, and I'm certain that will happen. And lastly, I do want to point out, I loved the Celine Dion reference. That was awesome. So, that concludes that, and we'll do another little outro of the song that I sang earlier in the beginning. That was me, a cappella, woohoo! Anyway, I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I will see you next time for the Chapter 10 review. And you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on.